How does your approach to reading a script differ when working with new plays as opposed to working with established works?
Well, when I think about established works, those scripts are usually locked. So the amount of possibility that them is potentially less generative if you're looking at it from the script standpoint. So when I'm reading new work, I have an eye towards futurity, possibility, the questions that I have for myself, actions and language that can potentially shift, rather than trying to maybe unlock meaning that it has to be already in the script.
What responsibilities do you have when working with a play in development that differ from your role when working on an established play?
Well, on these new play development lands, we are very fortunate to be working with living playwrights. So we get to listen to where the heartbeats that they have and the ones that they've written into the play, and again, be a little bit more generative with the way that we're working. Here, we can be in the mode of honing and shaping, and there's a little bit more possibility once we can be chatting with our playwrights as well.
Ask regarding this. So do you find it exciting that, you actually also get to, play a hand in, basically forming this like new piece of art that will eventually kind of be more in the community and, something that will become, I guess, more finished and less of raw sort of thing?
I'm really excited by collaborations where folks can be more like co-conspirators and working on equal levels, where there's like a less sense of a hierarchy where someone is writing and going away, where you can really be think partners in process, and have more of a stake, sometimes when you're really helping on the ground to shape the language of the world.
What has been maybe your fondest memory of being part of that development process when it comes to working with these new plays?
Hmm. Fondest memories? I don't know. I feel like when the plays are in more of like their BB status, there's more flexibility and joy in not knowing where it might end or what are the pieces of the puzzle that are going to fit together. And I super enjoy how generous collaborators are when we all are just trying to focus on the strength of the play and really wondering how it's going to land on the community that we're producing it, presenting it along for and by and with. So my memories are definitely more about the relationships and the people that I'm working with, and always trying to keep my own processes people focused rather than product focused.
All right, very cool. I'm going to go with the next question that I sent over earlier. What is one thing you wish the audience knew about reading or seeing plays in progress? So I know it's kind of worded weird. So like from someone, I guess it's whole like completely new to this process. So like for example, me, this is completely new to me to be part of like kind of this plays in progress series. So it's just kind of, interesting to kind of come in from even an audience perspective or, being able to give feedback of basically taking part in the formation of this play or giving feedback to the creative team on this sort of thing.
So in processes that are new, the script is very much the focus, and words here are cherished, and they have the potential to change depending on audience, even reactions or questions or wondering folks may bring up in our talkback spaces. But even so, I just find the malleability so heartening for the process, because there's just the possibility of not knowing how the play is going to be, and you never know how something will land on particular people too. So there's also the opportunity to go back and potentially fix or smooth over parts that maybe didn't land as we intended, or finding ways that they can maybe dramaturgically track a little bit better, since we do have that fluidity in how we're handling the script.
So we just had the one final question. What is the most challenging or rewarding thing about working with plays in development?
The challenge is that the script itself is not locked, but that's also part of the good trouble that I think you can make within it and figuring out where it goes. I love figuring out I love puzzles in general, so figuring out a play is kind of like a large dramaturgical puzzle. And so when you're in process, you're clocking what tracks, you're clocking what makes sense, and you also have the potential to fix those things or smooth them over. But it's also a lot to be carrying sometimes when we're thinking about having something new live in the world, even as different kinds of drafts, because we know that what we write or what we say doesn't necessarily include everything that we know, and trying to translate that into words on a page and then words that go into an actor and on a stage. There's just so much that can be lost in those different translations. And I think it's really exciting, even if challenging, to figure out what those gaps are and try to fill those gaps, and also make sure that your puzzle pieces are snugger than not.
Very cool. So like kind of adding on to that, maybe from your experience, have you noticed a difference from like playwrights that are, you know, very open to collaboration and feedback and reinterpretations of their work, or, you know, inside of things that they have noticed, versus playwrights that, you know, might be very protective of the thing that they created, and aren't really willing to, you know, get that feedback and to make improvements on that?
Mhm. I grew up in and around Chicago, and I was trained in and around Chicago, and I've just found that a lot of playwrights in that time, or in that town specifically, are just so much more open to being collaborative and not being as when I say that not being precious, it means that we're open to trying new things and seeing play development as an exercise. And it's figuring out what are the exercises that feel good in this space, what are the exercises that challenge us, and we can do that in words. But there also has to be a level of trust developed among the team as well, because writing can be super vulnerable. And as soon as we're thrown into a process together, sometimes we're expected just to be besties on the spot and show everyone everything about ourselves. And that can be scary, that can be unsafe if we don't have ways of really knowing what we're bringing into those spaces. So I think when playwrights are potentially protective or less willing to change their words, it's because they probably haven't felt good or safe or able to really experiment and feel supported in those spaces. So I do what I can working alongside my team to establish collective agreements, even just so we have clear expectations of what the process will look like. So surprises don't hurt necessarily.